In this case file from the Puzzle Detective, a logic puzzle uses symbols to take us to infinity and beyond. If you're up for the challenge, download the PDF file and then get ready to meet me at the puzzle board. Thanks to PennyDellPuzzles.com for permission to use their puzzles on the Puzzle Detective. Find the link to the free PDF file for this puzzle as well as the link to PennyDellPuzzles.com in the description of this video, and learn more about a special offer at the end of this episode. The puzzle for today's episode is called Symbolic Logic, and you can rest assured that if the word logic is in the title of the puzzle somewhere, it's going to be on my list of favorites, and this is really one of my favorites. It's a really fun puzzle, but before we get started, I really encourage you that if you haven't before gone down to the description of the video, there's a PDF file there. For this puzzle, go down to the PDF file, download the PDF, print it out. You can either solve the puzzle before you watch the video, after you watch the video, or maybe you solve along with me while I'm working through it. But I strongly encourage you, take the time, download the PDF file, and give it a try because you'll have lots of fun doing it. Okay, let's get to the instructions for symbolic logic, and they're very, very short instructions. Enter the asterisk, the pound sign, and the infinity symbol twice apiece in each row, column, and diagonal of the diagram in the order specified by the clues. And we've got the secondary clues here, which we'll get to in just a moment. But of course, our rows go back and forth, the columns up and down, and the diagonals we're talking about for this diagram are the diagonals that go from corner to corner, the major diagonals, if you will. All right, let's get to the secondary clues here. Both diagonals, as well as rows 2 and 5, are the only palindromes in the diagram. And of course, palindromes are things that read the same both frontwards and backwards. If we're talking about words that are palindromes, mom, M-O-M, or radar, R-A-D-A-R, it reads the same both frontwards and backwards. That's going to be a major clue, and palindromes are going to play a major part in solving our puzzle. Next clue, row 5 is the only row in which the two infinities are not adjacent. Row 2 is the only row in which the two pound signs are not adjacent, and E3 is not a pound sign. Well, let's first of all talk about the symbols that we're going to be using for our puzzle. First of all, we've got the asterisk, we've got the pound sign that somewhere down the line has become known as the hashtag symbol, but for the purposes of the puzzle here, we're going to call it the pound sign because that's what we're calling it in the instructions here. And then finally, we've got the infinity symbol. And for those of you who may be as old as I am, remember the TV show Ben Casey. This is starting to look like the Ben Casey intro. And for those of you who don't know who Ben Casey is, yeah, Google it. Okay. All right, so let's get back to the puzzle here. E3 is a really good place to start because we have just a very simple clue down here. E3 is not a pound sign, which means it's going to be either an asterisk or the infinity symbol. So let's go to E3 and put the asterisk and the infinity symbol in there. And obviously it's one, it's not both, but we know it's going to be one or the other. That's a good clue to ourselves, or a hint to ourselves, a reminder that it's going to be either the asterisk or the infinity symbol. Given the information and the clues that we have, what can we do to help us at this point try to solve the grid? Well, palindromes are going to be the key here. They figure very prominently in the clues. We also have certain symbols that cannot be adjacent to each other. But what can we put in the grid to indicate that we have palindromes going on? We know that both of the diagonals, as well as rows 2 and 5, are going to be palindromes. Well, let's do this. We know that the diagonal that starts at A1 and goes down to F6 is going to be a palindrome. Let's just put a notation. Let's put the little letter A, B, C, and then to continue, it would have to be C, B, and A, regardless of what the symbols are. If it's an infinity symbol here, it's also going to be an infinity symbol there, and so forth. Well, we also know that the other diagonal is going to be a palindrome, but more importantly in that, rows 2 and 5 are going to be palindromes. So what can we deduce from that particular clue? In row 2, we know then also that E2 is also going to have to be little letter b. Regardless of whatever symbol that is, it's going to be little letter b. And same thing with 5b here, because this is also going to be a palindrome. Let's take a careful look at the grid and consider one of our clues. Row 5 is the only row in which the two infinity symbols are not adjacent. Row 5 is the only row where they're not adjacent. Well, in order for the two infinity symbols to be adjacent in row 2, it can't go here and here because this is going to be a palindrome. Those wouldn't be adjacent. It can't go here and here. Those would not be adjacent. So the only place where the infinity symbol can go is here and here. All right, likewise, row 2 is the only row in which the two pound signs are not adjacent. Everywhere else in all of the other rows, they have to be adjacent, which means that we can also place the pound sign down on row 5. Now, as we did at the beginning of the puzzle when we put ourselves this little hint in here with the remaining possibilities for the particular square, let's do that also for rows 2 and 5. We've used up the infinity symbol in row 2, which means this will have to be either the pound sign or the asterisk. Same thing with all of the remaining squares. It's going to have to be either the pound sign or the asterisk. We can also do the same thing down on row 5. We've used up the pound sign, meaning this is going to have to be either the infinity symbol or the asterisk. Infinity symbol or the asterisk, and all the way across. This is our first big aha moment for this particular puzzle, because now we're going to go back and reapply the palindrome rule to our diagonal that goes from 1A down to 6F. The only way that this can possibly be a palindrome, what two symbols are common between the squares at 2B and 5E? Well, obviously, it's the asterisk. So we now know that this is going to be the asterisk, and so is this. All right, now we can jump down here. We know that this is going to be B. This is also going to be little letter b. This also then has to be the asterisk. We can actually get rid of that little letter b at this point because we're going to have those solved. Same thing up here. This then becomes an asterisk. And we can get rid of the little letter b there as well. Now, row 2, then in order to complete the palindrome, the only thing that we can put on each end is the pound symbol. Same thing on row 5, we can complete that as well. We know that the infinity symbols are going to have to go on the ends in row 5. By completing rows 2 and 5, what else can we deduce? What about this final hint that we got over here in our main hints? E3 is not a pound symbol. And we then decided that it would have to be either an asterisk or the infinity symbol. Well, we've used both of the asterisks at 2E and 5E. And we know that we only use each symbol twice in each row, in each column, and in each diagonal. That means this then has to be the infinity symbol. Now that we've placed this particular infinity symbol, what can we deduce in column E? What about the square at 4E in particular? We said that the only palindromes in this particular puzzle are rows 2, 5, and the two diagonals. Well, we cannot make this another infinity symbol. By putting an infinity symbol here, that would leave the pound signs at the top and the bottom, and we would have created another palindrome, which we cannot do, which means that this then has to be the pound sign. At this point, we're going to place the remaining possibilities for a number of the squares. We know that over in column E, this top square is going to have to either be the infinity symbol or the pound sign. Same thing down at the bottom. We'll go ahead and put those in there temporarily, just like that. We know it's got to be one or the other. And we're going to do the same thing on this long diagonal here. We've got the two asterisks already placed there. That means A1 will have to be either the pound sign or infinity. Same thing all the way down on the rest of that diagonal. Time to go back to the clue that says row 5 is the only row in which the two infinity symbols are not adjacent. Well, let's take a look at row 3. We know that this particular square here is going to be either the pound sign or the infinity symbol. Well, it can't be the infinity symbol because the two infinity symbols in row 3 are going to have to be adjacent. That means that this then will have to be the pound sign. Which also means that this will have to be the pound sign because this diagonal is a palindrome. It's got the little letter C in it. And now we can complete this diagonal down in the bottom here. This is going to have to be the infinity symbol, as well as square 1A will have to be the infinity symbol. And of course, you know what that means up in row 1. The only way that the infinity symbols can be adjacent now is for the other one to be right here. We can get rid of that. We know that that's going to have to be the pound sign. Down at the bottom, that leaves only one symbol left down here. That is the infinity symbol. Now let's take a look at row 4. We know that the infinity symbol is going to have to be, the two infinity symbols are going to have to be adjacent. Well, first of all, it definitely cannot go down on the end. And if it's going to be adjacent, that means it's either going to be AB or BC. We can absolutely place the infinity symbol at B4. The column B now, the only symbols remaining are the pound sign. Now at this point, let's do a little cross-reference. Let's check out the square at D3, this square right here. We've used both of our asterisks on this diagonal, and we've used both of our pound signs on this row here, row 3, meaning that the only remaining symbol that can go here is our infinity symbol, also satisfying that they are adjacent to each other. Now don't forget our other diagonal here. First of all, let's get rid of these little C's. We don't need those any longer. Now we can complete solving the other diagonal, as we know that it's our final palindrome on the grid here, making this a infinity symbol, making our ends up at the top and bottom in the corners. The pound sign. Now it's pretty easy to kind of figure out the remaining pieces here. We know that this is going to have to be the asterisk. And down at the bottom also an asterisk. This is an asterisk. Right. Same thing here. And then finally, we've got an asterisk on this end and one more right here. Okay, now that we have all of the symbols placed, not a bad idea to go back through and reread the clues just to make sure that everything's right. Both diagonals, as well as rows 2 and 5, are the only palindromes on the grid. So let's see here. We did certainly satisfy the palindrome on both of the diagonals, and in rows 2 and 5. Row 5 is the only row in which the two infinity symbols are not adjacent, which means they must be adjacent in all of the remaining rows. 1, there they are. 2, 3, 4, and 6. They are adjacent. Same thing down here. Row 2 is the only row in which the two pound signs are not adjacent. So in every other row, they must be adjacent. There they are in 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And finally, E3 is not a pound sign. And as we started off at the beginning here, we solved that fairly early on, that in fact is the infinity symbol. Okay, well there you go. We've completed symbol logic. Like I said, it can be a little daunting at first. Doesn't seem like we have a lot of clues to work with, but if you work back and forth, use a little bit of logic, you can solve the problem as well. I'll be back with a few closing comments from the desk of the Puzzle Detective right after this. If you enjoy solving puzzles, you'll find the best selection to challenge your mind at PennyDellPuzzles.com. Whether you're looking for variety collections or entire books devoted to your favorite type of puzzle, you'll find it there, with tremendous values on puzzle magazine packages, including print and solve puzzles that you can download and solve immediately. And as a thank you to viewers, you can find an exclusive offer by going to PennyDellPuzzles.com/thepuzzledetective. Well, I hope you enjoyed solving today's puzzle. If you'd like to learn more about The Puzzle Detective, go to my website at thepuzzledetective.com. There you'll find a link to my Patreon page where you can help support future videos. And until I see you next time, keep your pencils sharp and your mind sharper.